The King's Avatar, Chapter 1258 All-Star Team Division. Audio source, wushaworldaudiobook.com. Chapter 1258, All-Star Team Division. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. The high point was finally here, and the entire stadium thrummed with excitement. To be honest, the question of who would face off against each other wasn't especially interesting. After all, there were so many rounds of competition, and the confrontations between different teams could be seen in the normal league matches. What was most important about All-Stars were the team rosters. Those players normally scattered among all the various teams would only have this once-a-year chance to fight alongside each other. The audience deeply loved to watch this sort of matchmaking. Which people would be pushed together in this all-star competition? Everyone present lifted their heads to stare unblinking at the display screen in the stadium. The team divisions were only revealed right before the match. Even the all-stars themselves didn't know beforehand. First, Team A. Zhou Zekai, Sun Xiang, Jiang Botao, Lu Boyuan. 4 names appeared on the screen, followed by their account names. It was Team Samsara. The All-Star Team divisions would never separate members of the same team. Samsara had 4 All-Stars, which was currently a unique distinction. No other team could match them in number of All-Stars. Blue Rain and Tiny Herb only had 3 each. Which team's players would be assigned to match Samsara's 4? Everyone's gazes turned to the right half of the display screen. Team B's roster was still empty. The screen began to flash. Several lines of player and account names tumbled and appeared before everyone's eyes. And everyone was utterly dumbstruck. Han Wenqing, Zhang Xinji, Yishu, Su Mucheng, Tyranny's 2, and Happy's 2, combined into 4 to match Samsara's 4. But the issue wasn't the player number, the issue was Tyranny and Happy. How come they were paired together? No one expected that this roster reveal would, instead of proceeding step by step, reach a high point right at the beginning. The live audience was stunned, and then there was an uproar. Han Wenqing, Yishu. These 2 people would be fighting next to each other. Countless people felt that their brains were about to short-circuit. Something that they felt would absolutely never happen for all eternity became reality at this All-Stars. In previous years, in order to maintain the competitiveness of the All-Star competition, death enemies like Han Wenqing and Yishu, Tyranny and Excellent Tira, would definitely be assigned to opposing teams. But this time, with Tyranny hosting this all-star competition, they actually pulled Yishu into their roster, making him stand beside Han Wenqing as a teammate. This was truly a bold move. But to many die-hard Tyranny fans, this arrangement was unacceptable, and shouts of protest actually erupted in the stadium. The hosts, that was to say Team Tyranny, certainly had a hand in this arrangement, but Tyranny fans didn't want to blindly go along with this. Yishu was the arch-nemesis, forever the arch-nemesis. How could they just change that? Those that maintained this view were a few die-hard fans. But more people felt that this arrangement seemed very interesting. What kind of awkward battle would result when these 2 opponents of 10 years were standing beside each other? It seemed like many people were already beginning to anticipate, and the various emotions in the crowd were beginning to diffuse. Afterwards, not many people paid attention when Blue Rain's Yu Wenzu, Huang Shaoshan, and Lu Hanwen were assigned to Team A, while Tiny Herb's Wang Gxe, Zhu Bin, and Gao Yingji were sent to Team B. This arrangement was very ordinary. For many All-Stars now, these 2 teams would be split onto different teams. For one, these 2 teams had history between them, and for another, this allowed Team A and Team B to be relatively balanced in power. If both Blue Rain and Tiny Herb were sent to the same team, the balance would become very skewed. no matter what, and B had to be around the same strength. After Blue Rain and Tiny Herb, Wind Howls, Tang Hao and Lu Hao joined Team A, while 100 Blossoms, Yu Feng and Zhou Yuan joined Team B. This arrangement was again to increase the conflict. Tang Hao came from 100 Blossoms, Lu Hao was former teammates with Yi Shu. Their past now stood with Team B. And for 100 Blossoms, Yu Feng was formerly in Blue Rain, and therefore was sent to Team B. After seeing this arrangement, many people lamented that Happy's Fang Rui and Tyranny's Zhang Jiale and Lin Jingyan hadn't been voted onto All-Stars. Otherwise, this team division alone would be an even more complex mess in a boiling pot. Zhang Jiale would be standing alongside 100 Blossoms' revival of the Blood and Blossoms pairing. Fang Rui, newly changed to Chi Master, would reunite with his former criminal partner Lin Jingyan, the two of them taking their revenge against the Wind Howl that had abandoned them. So many thrilling points to watch, but because these three players had failed to make it into All-Stars, this sight could not be witnessed. The audience could only sigh about how regrettable it was. After the players of these two teams were assigned, Void's ghost duo Li Xuan and Wu Yus were sent to Team A, while Misty Rain's Chu Youngshu and Li Hua entered Team B. Then, there were only two people left. Xiao Shiqin went to Team A, Yang Kong to Team B. Looking at the final rosters of the two teams, the most exciting was still that moment at the beginning. Yishu and Han Wenqing would be battling together. Even now, the crowd was still discussing this topic, ignoring all of the rest. After the rosters were revealed, the 24 All-Stars had already split into two separate lines. The exciting points to watch existed only in the hearts of the viewers. For the pros, in reality, they all agreed with Yishu's answer to the interview question. Who are you looking forward to partnering with? Don't really care. Two teams of 12 players. Following the normal match rules, it was just enough for every player to appear once. After the rosters were decided, Teams A and B separated to their respective temporary prep areas, which was specially prepared for this event. In this moment, they were two teams. Alright, now the teams are in their places. After letting them make some preparations, the All-Star competition will begin in just a moment, the host shouted passionately. Coach Lee, what kind of lineups do you think each team will arrange? All-Star Weekend was always broadcast on television. And for the high-level confrontation that was the All-Star competition, commentator Pan Lin and honored guest Li Yibo were also present for the live broadcast. Every year, there's always one crucial point in the team division, and that is, which team has the healer, said Li Yibo. Very true. For a few years in a row now, there's been only one healer voted into All-Stars, Zhang Xinji. Correct. Team A is facing a situation where they don't have a healer, so for the team competition, they'll want to have a lineup with strong explosive power. Only then will they have a chance at suppressing Team B's healer advantage. For Team B, as long as they have a steady team that can thoroughly take advantage of their healer, then their chances of victory will certainly be higher than Team A's. As for the individual and group rounds, it'll just be the leftover players performing. Li Yibo said a whole lot, explosive and steady, but in the end he didn't name a single name. WatchOurWorldAudio.com. Naming names was very dangerous. He didn't want to be face-slapped because of an inaccurate prediction, and so he had to speak in very general terms for something like predicting lineup. Li Yibo's answer was vague and crafty, and of course Pan Lin wouldn't try to break it. He simply said, "You're right," and then the two of them looked at the display screen together. Huh? Did some kind of argument break out over at Team B? Pan Lin suddenly yelled, Director, The camera could zoom in and focus on Team B, but there were no microphones over there to pick up sound. Can anyone go over there to see what's going on? Pan Lin called. Is it an argument between Yi Zhu and Han Wenqing? Li Yibo studied the camera view. Seeing that the heart of the conflict appeared to be Yi Zhu, he instantly thought of this possibility. But when he looked closer, it didn't look like Han Wenqing was arguing with him. It looked like everyone was targeting Yi Zhu. You want to save yourself the trouble and fight in an individual round. Too naive, stand aside. Tiny Herb's Wang Jiexi was saying to Yi Zhu. This brother has 16 consecutive individual wins. I'll give us a head start, get us a solid point, suppress their arrogance. This is such a logical and clever arrangement. How is this naive? Big-eyed Huang, explain it to me. Yi Zhu argued back. Tiny Herb's other two players shrunk back. They of course knew their captain had this nickname, but how many people would dare to use it directly? They stole glances at their captain, wondering what his reaction would be. Wang Jiexi didn't seem to have much of a reaction. He merely looked at everyone, and then said, "We'll vote. Those who agree with this guy playing an individual, raise your hands." What vote? Is your Tiny Herb governed by a voting system? Yi Zhu said. Everyone shrunk back again. The conflict between these two was truly a battle between gods. Those like Zhu Bin, Yu Feng, Zhou Yuan, these players had all debuted much later. Although they were also all-stars, in the face of this seniority and qualification, they instantly felt they were still shorter by a head. They didn't have the bravery to go and break up the fight. But even as everyone shrunk back, they stole glances at Han Wenqing, who did have the status to enter this battle of gods. What's all this fuss for? But, surprisingly, the first one to interrupt and scold them was actually Chu Yongshu. I'll go first for individual. Chu Yongshu shouted. There are 3 spots, what are you rushing for? I'll go first, you go second. Yi Zhu said. Alright, agreed. Chu Yongshu gave a strong nod. And then Mucheng, Yi Zhu said, making sure to pick from his own team first. If all 3 of you went to the team competition, that would really be an excellent arrangement, said Wang Jiexi. And then leave the individual slots to you. Yi Zhu said. Our Tiny Herb has a very good group arena record. Wang Jiexi's foxtail was finally exposed. They talked and they talked, but in the end they were all just too lazy to perform in the most tiring team competition, and so they scurried toward the shorter and simpler individual battles. Yi Zhu just very plainly tried to snatch the desirable spots for himself, while Wang Jiexi wanted to stuff the team competition spots full, and then he could just smoothly enter the individual battles. Yi Zhu stared at him, silent for a few seconds, and then turned his head to look at everyone else. With that, isn't the lineup set? Everyone else go in the team competition, isn't that just enough? Everyone else would be Tyrannies 2, 100 Blossoms 2, Misty Rains Li Hua, and 301's Yang Kong. Let's discuss the lineups. Tyrannies Zhang Xinji calmly opened his mouth, as though he hadn't heard any of the heated discussion just now. Translators' thoughts. Nomyami team roster. Samsara, Zhou Zekai, Sun Xiang, Jiang Botao, Lu Boyuan, Blue Rain, Yu Wenzhou, Huang Shaoshan, Lu Hanwen, Wind Howl, Tang Hao, Lu Hao, Void, Li Xuan, Wu Yus, Thunderclap, Xiao Shichan Team B roster. Tyranny, Han Wenqing, Zhang Xinji, Happy, Yi Zhu, Su Mucheng, Tiny Herb, Wang Jiexi, Zhu Bin, Gao Yingji, 100 Blossoms, Yu Feng, Zhou Yuan, Misty Rain, Chu Yongshu, Li Hua, 301, Yang Kong. End chapter. The King's Avatar. Chapter 1259. A member of the strongest team. Audio source. wusharworldaudiobook.com. Chapter 1259. A member of the strongest team. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. Hey, you're just completely ignoring us. Yishu, extremely dissatisfied, said to Zhang Xinji. This is tyranny, Zhang Xinji said. This is tyranny. There was a pause, but everyone quickly understood Zhang Xinji's meaning. Even he might not necessarily enjoy this sort of showy battle. But this was tyranny. This year's All-Stars was hosted by tyranny, and as tyranny's players, Zhang Xinji and Han Wenqing could not undermine their own stage. They would have to do what they could to make this year's All-Stars brilliant and exciting. Yishu and the others made their plan just to save effort, which the tyranny players of course would not support. If only I were in Team A. Yishu sighed. Everyone cast him sidelong glances. Aren't you being too honest with your feelings? Are you purposely trying to undermine tyranny? No one was talking anymore. With the home team's players here, they had to give them face. But Yishu, would this guy let tyranny save face? It'd be good enough if he didn't intentionally tear down this stage. As they were all thinking this, Yishu had already opened his mouth again. Well, since that's the case, how about we have a more tyrannical arrangement? Everyone continued to look at him. After he finished speaking, they all revealed expressions of excitement. So you did come here to tear down the stage, said Wang Jiexe. It's on purpose, said Chu Yongshu. This wouldn't be too good, would it? Yufeng was still doubtful. Have some confidence. What are you scared of? Said Yishu. Scared of the entire glory circle. These people here would be the last people scared of a stage like this. Everyone again fell silent and looked at Han Wenqing, looked at Zhang Xinji. Would they agree with this plan of Yishu's? So be it. Tyranny's captain Han Wenqing slapped the table, closing the discussion. All Stars was just a show, so there weren't any strict time regulations. The judge came to Team A and Team B's preparation areas to confirm that both teams had made appropriate preparations. Then, with the passionate announcement of the live host, the All-Star competition began. Now, we have the first battle of the individual competition. Will the first two players please come on stage? Quote. As the host shouted, he was also looking to the left and right. The roster order of the two teams wouldn't be revealed beforehand, so the suspense would last all the way to the end. Even the host could only wait for the results. Team A, Lu Boyuan, Samsara's grappler Lu Boyuan walked on stage. This meant that Samsara's four all-star players would not all be working together in the team competition. Team B, Yang Kong, 301's captain and an old general, would be taking the lead for Team B. Lu Boyuan's account was Chaotic Cloudy Mountain, who, after Samsara obtained the character Flying Drops from Tiny Herb and taken all his equipment, was now the #1 grappler in Glory. The original #1 grappler Flying Drops no longer existed. What about Flying Drops' original player, Li Yihui? After that summer's transfers, he had gone to the team that Yang Kong now led, 301 degrees. It was only after the host explained all this backstory that everyone realized that there was also this gimmick hiding in Team B. Yang Kong and Tiny Herb's Zubin were former teammates reunited. In 301, Zubin had only been Yang Kong's assistant, but after transferring to Tiny Herb, thanks to the team's influence, his popularity was now even higher than Yang Kong's. In the All-Star voting, Yang Kong was at 24th, barely making it in, while Zubin was at 16th, a very stable position. Yang Kong was a player from Season 3 and was now growing old, entering the twilight years of his career. He wouldn't have any new upgrades, and his professional career would probably just stop at his time in 301. But Zubin was a player from Season 6. He'd earned some attention and then entered the powerhouse Tiny Herb. He had nothing but a bright future ahead of him. Even as the audience compared these two players and sighed, the battle on stage had already begun. Victory or loss didn't matter too much at All Stars. The battle also opened voice channel, available to players from both sides, so that even opponents could communicate. But Lu Boyuan and Yang Kong evidently didn't have much to talk about. The two simply greeted each other, and then began to fight. Lu Boyuan was also a player from Season 6, now at the pinnacle of his professional career. Originally smothered by the shing aura of Samsara's Josekai, he was able to earn a high amount of attention for himself after Samsara's first championship victory and his performance in those finals. From then on, he walked on the road to All Stars. But from the way things currently were, his position didn't seem to be that stable, especially after Sun Xiang and One Autumn Leafs joining Samsara this season. Lu Boyuan, an all-star level player, could only be considered the fourth player in the team. Former Blue Rain player Yu Feng had chosen to leave for 100 Blossoms in hopes of obtaining the higher position in the team. But Lu Boyuan, his position seemed to be even more awkward than Yu Feng's had been. What were his thoughts? He didn't have any thoughts. The meaning of that was that, for this sort of thing about which Yu Feng cared greatly, he didn't care at all. It might seem like he didn't have much of a strong heart, but perhaps this was simply the personality of a natural-born Samsara player. Lu Boyuan became a pro in Season 6. His teammate Josekai was only 1 year earlier, but at that time, the title of Great Gunner was already resounding throughout the Alliance. This player, who was silent off-stage and yet performed explosively strong on stage, quickly sent Samsara from a mediocre, mid-tier team into the ranks of the strong teams. Back then, they were already calling Samsara a one-man team. Back then, Josekai's light was already obscuring the entire team. And so Samsara's players like Lu Boyuan, from then until now, were very used to being outshone by this sort of light. Now that a Sun Xiang had appeared, pushing Lu Boyuan further down to fourth. The fourth player, this was what the outside world said. But Lu Boyuan didn't have this thought in his heart, nor did any of the other players in Samsara. To the outside world, Samsara was Josekai and everyone else. Correct. Aside from Josekai, the others were just everyone else, even the newly transferred Sun Xiang. This sort of environment seemed like it'd invite disharmony. That unique character so easily crowded all of the others into that everyone else. But Samsara continued to walk along harmoniously. Because Samsara's unique person was Josekai, that quiet person. WuxRWorldAudio.com. No matter how brilliantly the Great Gunner shone on stage, off-stage Josekai was still such a humble, unassuming person. No matter how his position had changed in just these few years, no matter how many activities the sponsors or the team had him participate in, his personality was still just like this. As teammates that had gotten along with each other for so many years, Lu Boyuan and the others understood Josekai's personality better than anyone else. Although he didn't speak much, he was a very easygoing person. Although he was the number one in glory, he wasn't someone who very much liked receiving attention. Too much attention would only make him nervous and shy. Yet despite this personality, he'd become a star that thousands were watching, and even after he'd been a star for so many years, he still just had this kind of personality. Regarding this point, Samsara's players admired him very much. They often thought, if one day Joe Sekai faced the camera and was able to suddenly make a complaint or crack a joke or something, what kind of earth-shaking moment would that be? Samsara's internal affairs were just that harmonious. Joe Sekai as the unique number one and the others as everyone else was only how the outside world understood it. But to Team Samsara themselves, they understood the true Joe Sekai, and wouldn't be fooled by that on-stage great gunner. Joe Sekai hadn't pulled apart from him, and so, in their eyes, Joe Sekai was also a part of that. Everyone else, and Samsara didn't have any special members. So, the fourth player in the team, Lu Boyuan, truly did not have that feeling. Weren't they all the same? He always had that kind of feeling. This was the feeling that Samsara brought to every team member. So even as the outside world analyzed what problems Sun Xiang's addition would incite within the team, Samsara was all peaceful winds and calm waves. In this harmonious team environment, their tolerance was really very high. If a newcomer really had some dissatisfaction, when they saw how even Joe Sekai was so low profile and silent, what kind of person would feel they had the status in this team to be cocky? Samsara was very fortunate that they had a player like Joe Sekai. Not just because of his strength, but because of his personality. And so they ultimately constructed the strongest team in the alliance, of which Lu Boyuan was a member. But in this match, he ultimately lost. On one hand, this was all stars. Lu Boyuan fought quite casually. But more importantly, it was because Yang Kong played too intensely. Up until now, Yang Kong had always attacked directly. Despite being an assassin, he was an assassin that walked in the light, on the straight road. But this time, he used life-risking strike. This skill was one his scene killer had learned and added points to, but it had always just been a skill held in reserve as a surprise. Yet this time, he actually used it. Life-risking strike, one-hit kill. As soon as the assassin used this skill, that meant that if you didn't die, I would. Captain Yang, you were too ruthless. Quote, when life-risking strike hit chaotic cloudy mountain from the side, Lu Boyuan said this in surprise. Yang Kong chuckled. This was perhaps already his final performance on this all-star stage. Let him end on a beautiful note. For assassins, what people enjoyed the most was this kind of one-hit kill, right? Chaotic cloudy mountain fell, scene killer emerged victorious. The audience was in a daze, and then erupted into cheers. One-hit kill, the audience loved it. Even neutral parties felt that this one attack was incredibly fulfilling. Plus, most of the audience, as Tyranny fans, were biased toward the Team B player Yang Kong, as their Han Wenqing and Zhang Xinji were also in Team B. But Team B also had a Yi Xiu. One bad apple really spoils the whole bunch, some Tyranny fans thought, indignant. Far below on the floor of the stadium, Yi Xiu was strolling about in boredom. End chapter. The King's Avatar. Chapter 1260. The One Who Wants to Win, Cannot. Audio source, WurshaWorldAudiobook.com. Chapter 1260. The One Who Wants to Win, Cannot. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. A beautiful life-risking strike, a thrilling one-hit kill. Even more incredible, it was done by Yang Kong. This is really too rare. Thank you for Yang Kong for your thrilling performance. The live host was shouting, and in the television broadcast, Pan Lin and Li Yibo were also discussing this topic. For Yang Kong to become an all-star, he was no ordinary player. But on this stage that was resplendent with such stars, he seemed more like a passing guest. He hadn't left much of a mark in the alliance, and even now there wasn't too much time given to him. This one use of life-risking strike at this All-Stars would perhaps become an unforgettable moment of his professional career. Alright, right now Team B is in the lead 1-0. Quote, as the host announced, the display screen updated with the current score. Next, will the second players of the two teams please come on stage? Everyone's eyes swiveled from left to right, waiting to see which two players would stand up. First is Team A. This is, another player from Samsara, their vice-captain, Jiang Botao. Jiang Botao walked on stage. Team B's player had also stood forward, Zhou Yuan from 100 Blossoms. This is a clash of vice-captains. The host tried to let these matchups have more topics of discussion. Unfortunately, after these two vice-captains went on stage, they didn't discuss much as they exchanged blows back and forth. Jiang Botao, who had already expressed how he didn't care much about the all-star stage, played relatively relaxed. Zhou Yuan, on the other hand, was different. Although this was his third time voted into All-Stars, this was the first time he'd earned recognition for his own merits, and not for this or that reason. He didn't want to disappoint those who had voted for him, and so even though this was just a show of a match, he didn't want to lose. Sadly, things were just that fickle. Zhou Yuan, who didn't want to lose, ultimately lost. Jiang Botao, who didn't care about the outcome and played very relaxed, actually won. Team A catches up with another point. The host declared, and the scoreboard updated to reflect this. Zhou Yuan returned to his teammates in disappointment, his mood so low that it gave Team B a shock. What's wrong? Do you have some grudge against Jiang Botao? Yizhu asked. No. Zhou Yuan was caught off guard. Then why do you look so unhappy? Yizhu didn't understand. Lost, said Zhou Yuan. Not like it's your first time, said Yizhu. Everyone felt like they were going to be driven mad. This was supposed to be comforting. This wasn't very comforting, was it? As Zhou Yuan's teammate, Yu Feng understood him a bit better and quickly pulled Zhou Yuan aside to comfort him. Everyone else shot disdainful gazes at Yizhu. Who's up next? Yizhu ignored them, calling for the next player. It's my turn. Quote, for Team B, Misty Rain's Li Hua was playing in the next battle. From Team A, the one who stood up was Wind Howl's vice-captain, Lu Hao. Another confrontation between vice-captains. Quote, when the host said this, the stadium booed him for his doneness. These were all all-stars. Practically all of them were either captain or vice-captain of their respective teams. So discussing a conflict between captains or between vice-captains or between captain and vice-captain wasn't rare at all. This host probably had nothing to say, and so he kept using this as a topic of discussion. This thought was actually quite correct. The host truly had nothing he could say. Lu Hao, Li Hua. This was another matchup where there wasn't any conflict to be discussed, not at all, not in the players' pasts, nor from the teams they were currently on, nor from any previous fights. Even in the team competitors, thanks to reasons like rotation, these people hadn't ever met, as though they were two parallel lines never intersecting. When things had reached this point, it had to be said that the television broadcasters Pan Lin and Li Yibo were leaders in their profession for a reason. While the live hosts scrambled to find a topic and was booed by the audience, these two said with shock, "Whoa, this is actually the first time these two players are meeting on the official stage." From this, it could be seen that looking at things from a different angle instantly revealed more points of interest. Lu Hao and Li Hua, meeting for the first time, were both unfamiliar with each other. Not only was Lu Hao unfamiliar with Li Hua, he was unfamiliar with the all-star stage as a whole. This was the first time he had reached this stage. This was something he had anticipated for so long, only to discover now that he could only show his face very briefly in the individual round. Lu Hao very much wanted to prove himself, but On this star-studded stage, he truly had no way of grabbing a larger role. The Team Competition was undoubtedly the event that drew the most attention. Compared to Team B, where people like Yi Xiu and Wang Jiexi and Chu Youngshu were all too lazy and wanted to scurry into the individual matches, Liu Hao was anxious to play in the Team Competition. Because he knew clearly, the Team Competition rosters represented those with the strongest battle ability, the stars among the all-stars. How he wanted to have that identity for himself. Unfortunately, he did not. Even if they counted the 6 people who had the highest all-star vote count, he wouldn't make it in neither Team A nor Team B. In Team A, the 6 people ultimately set to appear in the team round were Zhou Zekai, Sun Xiang, Yu Wenzhou, Huang Shaoshan, Tang Hao, and Xiao Shichen. Of the 6 people, aside from Yu Wenzhou ranked at 11th, the others were all 10th place and higher. Liu Hao had no place to try and challenge him for the right to play in the Team Competition. Helpless, he could only accept the arrangement to play in the individual round. And now, facing Li Hua, Liu Hao's mind was completely blank. What kind of coincidence was this? 2 teams would meet in at least 2 rounds of competition. Li Hua had entered the alliance in Season 7, and it had been several years now. Yet, somehow, they had never met. Liu Hao felt that this was incredible. If he weren't standing here on this stage now, he never would have expected such a strange thing to happen to him. He thought it was strange. Li Hua felt the same, so the 2 players progressed very carefully. After they met, they tested each other, tried to feel out the opponent, while mentally reviewing what research their team had done on this opponent. Afterward, Li Hua's ninja Dark Forest vanished. The ninja's hidden movement began. It looked like Li Hua had already found the rhythm of the battle. Soon, when Dark Forest appeared again and launched an attack, the rhythm was extremely fast. What about Liu Hao? These few years he'd been wandering about and currying favor, and too much of his energy was spent on these things. He was also furiously thinking, but he couldn't think of any useful data. It could be summed up in one phrase: it's only when it comes time to apply knowledge that you regret not acquiring enough. Liu Hao was filled with regret. As a newcomer to the All-Star stage, he was like Zhou Yuan. He wasn't as relaxed as everyone else. He desperately wanted to win, and he wanted to win beautifully, spectacularly, like Yang Kong in the first match. WuxaWorldAudio.com. That life-risking strike had been such a brilliant move. Yet, why did he have to meet this Li Hua? This ninja player who excelled at hidden movement had also been hidden to him throughout his professional career. Now he suddenly appeared in front of him, during his first All-Star appearance. Was his first show simply going to leave behind this mark of failure? No. Not just failure, this was straight-up shameful. His Spellblade was beaten pathetically by Li Hua's ninja, as though this wasn't a contest between evenly matched heavyweights. At this moment, Liu Hao felt that he could already see countless audience members whispering amongst themselves. Countless people staring dumbstruck, countless people thinking, Liu Hao's doing really poorly. Is that all the skill he has? This is just too painful. What is this Li Hua doing? This is just All-Stars. Why is he playing so diligently? Liu Hao suddenly forgot how much he had initially cared about this match, and began to be dissatisfied with Li Hua's investment. This can't happen. Liu Hao's heart was screaming. His Spellblade swung his sword, sending out killer shockwaves, but they revealed nothing. Dark Forest's ghostly silhouette had already appeared at his side. Flickering pursuit. Dark Forest's after-images filled the area, launching consecutive attacks toward Liu Hao's Spellblade. Liu Hao still couldn't get his bearings. He wildly slashed out with 2 attacks, but all he shredded were the images Dark Forest left behind in the air. Li Hua, old brother, how come you're playing so seriously? Liu Hao managed to squeeze out a laugh, trying to make his words sound more relaxed. Li Hua paused. I'm not really playing that seriously. Liu Hao was pissed. Not playing seriously? You can say something like that. More importantly, you're not playing seriously and yet you can still beat me down like this. Are you purposely trying to devastate me? Liu Hao's little cosmos had been burning for who knew how long now, but the problem was, even though he used up so much energy, he found that he didn't have any sure kill method. His chaotic and random attacks would only make him feel more powerless and pathetic. He also had no way of calming himself down to make careful observations or analysis. This was the chance for which he had waited so many years, but in the end, it was just going to be destroyed by someone who was invisible to him during his entire pro career. How could he be calm? No way. He lost. In the end, Liu Hao lost. The more someone wanted to win, the more they couldn't win. Last round it was Team B, this round it was Team A's turn. Liu Hao came pitifully off stage, feeling that the eyes of the entire stadium were upon him. When he returned to Team A, he didn't even lift his head. He wanted to explain something, but he also knew that those beside him were all Glory's top players. Find some technical excuse to brush it off? He should just save it. On that note, the individual competition ended with Team B in a 2-1 lead. But as soon as the two teams had tied at 1-1, everyone knew that victory would be determined in the team competition. The group arena wasn't important, this wasn't an alliance match where points counted. One by one, the players went on stage to play in the group arena. Team A's first player was Blue Rain's little general Liu Hanwen, while Team B sent Tiny Hub's Zhu Bin. Liu Hanwen was young, energetic, and fearless, while Zhu Bin had the title of Grind King, his rhythm like a slowly plodding old man. In this interesting confrontation, Zhu Bin ultimately came out on top, defeating Liu Hanwen. Next from Team A was the number 1 Phantom Demon Li Xuan, who defeated Zhu Bin. Then, Team B sent on their young player Gao Yingji to send off Li Xuan. Team A's anchor was the other half of Void's ghost duo, Wu Yus, who killed off Gao Yingji without giving him much chance to perform. With this, everyone could determine Team A's roster for the team competition. What about Team B? Which expert would have the responsibility of anchoring the group arena? The host looked toward Team B, the entire stadium looked toward Team B, and then they all rubbed their eyes. Who's standing up? That's Zhang Xinji. Is he going to the bathroom? Preparing for the team competition? Probably. No, wait, what's going on? He's walking toward the stage. What's going on here? Team B's group arena anchor is the cleric. End chapter.